Hello! Today we are working in Grade 1 Science, the Unit 3 Plant Structures, Lesson 7 Plant Structures Portfolio. Today I'll walk you through how to complete this portfolio assignment. This is an assignment you'll complete at home and then turn into your teacher for a grade. Let's look at your lesson to see how we should begin. Objective. In this portfolio, you will identify a problem people have that can be solved by copying plant parts. Read about Layla's problem. How can Layla solve her problem like a plant? Layla and her mom are going to the beach. Her cousins will be there. The beach is crowded. Oh no, Layla says. Will my cousins see me? Layla thinks about bees. Bees find flowers by their bright colors. Layla gets her rainbow hat. Then she stands up with a shovel in the sand. She puts the hat on. Her cousins find her. So how did Layla solve her problem like a plant? You can talk about this with your learning coach, right? She got an idea from something that plants do to attract bees. They use bright colors. How can you solve a problem like a plant? You can solve a problem too. You will use what you know about plant parts to solve a problem. You will follow these steps. So you're going to be following the engineering design process. In your science resource book, you can see more about this assignment. You're going to think like an engineer to solve a problem. You'll use the steps to create a device that is like a plant part. So here's what you're going to do. Identify a problem people have that can be solved by copying plant parts. Design a plan that copies plant parts to solve a problem. Create a device that mimics or copies plant parts to solve a problem. And test the device that copies plant parts to solve a problem. So you're going to use your science journal. I don't have a science journal that looks just like yours, but I do have a science journal that I'm going to use as a guide to help you complete your own. You're going to include all of these parts, the problem you want to solve, your ideas on how to solve the problem, your plan, pictures of your device or design, the results of your test, and ideas to improve it. All right, so you will write in your journal and you will show your pictures. Then you will send them to your teacher. Objective. In this section, you will identify, that means find, a problem that people have that can be solved by copying plant parts. Here's a key word for you, the engineering design process. That means a series of steps engineers follow to solve a problem. So you're going to be an engineer today. Down here, here's a podcast where you can listen. It's going to talk about the engineering design process quite a bit and what engineers do. The first step in this process is to ask questions. This will help us understand the problem better. So in your resource book, it's going to give you more information. You can ask questions about the problem, how we can solve the problem, if something in nature can help us solve our problem, and what the solution to our problem needs to do. So here is my science journal. Like I said, it's not going to look just like yours, but that's okay. I've still got this important section, which is ask questions. I'm going to have to turn this into my teacher. Here are the two questions that I came up with about a problem that I have. How can I stay cool while riding my bike? How can I drink water without using my hands? So a problem I identified is when I go on bike rides. Here in Florida, it's really hot, right? I get sweaty and I need to stay hydrated and stay cool. So how can I think like a plant to solve that problem? Those are my questions. Remember, you can solve any problem you can think of as long as you can solve it doing it a way that a plant or animal might do so. All right, so the second step, we've asked our questions. Now we're brainstorming. That means we think about many ways to solve the problem. So we've already done ask. Now we're doing brainstorm in this engineering process. All right, so you can make a list of all of the ways to solve a problem, and then you can use that list to help you pick the best way to solve that problem. Here's an activity that's going to show you plant parts that you can complete at home. You're going to match it up with inventions that actually have copied those plants. All right, so now we've chosen the problem that you can solve. We've asked some questions about the problem, brainstormed some ideas, work with your learning coach, and record them in your science journal. So now we're going to write 1 or 2 questions and write the numbers 1 through 5 in your journal after those questions. With those numbers, you're going to brainstorm 5 ideas. You can write, draw, or paste, glue something in your journal next to each number. So here's what I've got in my science journal. Here's my brainstorming section. It's under my Ask Questions. Number 1, I said water bottle attachment. That's not a complete sentence, right? But it's just an idea. I'm just brainstorming. I think a water bottle attachment might help me with my problem. Or I could use a hat to provide myself some shade, right? I could make an extra long straw for water. I could make a bike umbrella. Or maybe a helmet fan, right? A lot of these ideas would help me with my problem of staying cool, and some of them will help me with my problem of staying hydrated or drinking water. Let's look back at your lesson. Objective. In this section, you will identify a problem people have that can be solved by copying plant parts, right? We're right in the middle of that process right now. Here is a video where another student is going to talk about a different problem. So if you don't have an idea of what your problem is going to be yet, watch this video. Remember, it's okay if you use one of the examples from the lesson. That is perfectly fine. All right, so here's what we've done so far. We've named a problem that we want to solve. It can be the same problem as in the video or the example earlier in the lesson, or it can be different. Think about your problem, ask questions, and then now it says you should draw a picture of your problem in your science journal. Also, write and answer 2 questions about your problem. So we've kind of done that already, but we haven't drawn the picture, right? I've done that in my next step. I've done that in my design step. I drew a little picture of something that I might like to make. Let's get back to that lesson and then I'll tell you more about that in a moment. So remember, you're going to page 14 in your Science 1 resource book. All right, we've got that same objective still. We're going to design a plan this time though that copies plant parts to solve our problem. Here's a video that you can watch. It's going to go over how to make a plan and a plan that another student had made. Here are some neat new words about different plant parts that you might want to consider when you were thinking about how you could solve your problem. All right, so now we're on the design portion of this process. What is the best design? You can make a list of the steps needed and you can talk about the materials needed. Make sure you go over these questions with your learning coach while you're thinking of your own design. All right, so review these plant parts. Your plan should use a plant part for ideas. In the directions, it also says animal parts, but I'm focusing on plants because that's mostly what we're learning about right now. So let's review plant parts. You can point to the picture of where they are as you look at these words. Roots are a plant part that grows under the ground and takes in water. Stem is the part of a plant that holds up the plant. The trunk is the sturdy wooden stem of a tree. A flower is the part of a plant that produces seeds, and leaves are flat green parts that grow from flower stems and tree branches. So consider all of these different parts when you're thinking about how you could solve your problem. To make a plan, you must write out the steps in your plan, draw a picture of the finished tool or device, and list the materials that you will need. Writing down the plan makes it easier to remember what you need to do. So in your science journal, that's your next step, right? We're on the design step. So here's what I've got in my science journal. For design, I wrote the materials first. I decided I was going to make a really long straw, kind of like the root system of a plant, right? Roots from a plant, they have to reach way down underground, and then they drink that water and they send it to the other parts of the plant. So I want to make a really long straw that can go all the way behind me in my backpack to a water bottle that will help me drink water while I'm riding my bike. Without hands, right? Plants don't have hands, so I'm going to do it without hands too. So I need many straws, I need tape or glue, a water bottle, and a small backpack. So those are my materials. Here's my picture I just showed you a moment ago. Pretty simple, right? I've got to connect all those straws and make them kind of bent like that so I can get them to my mouth. And then I wrote what I'm going to do. I will build a long connected straw like the roots of a plant. All right, and then under create, I've got some more information about that as well. Let's go back to your lesson for now. This is the end of the first portion of this portfolio. This portfolio has 3 portions, so I strongly suggest doing this over 3 different days. So if that's your plan too, this is a really good stopping point. I'm going to go ahead and move from Unit 3, Lesson 5 up to lesson 6. So this is a good stopping point if you want to come back and finish the rest of this work tomorrow. Objective. In this section, you will create a device that mimics, remember that means copies, plant parts to solve a problem. You've named your problem. You've thought about your problem. You've asked questions. You made a plan. What is the next step? Create a device to solve a problem. The next step is to create the device that will help you solve the problem. To do this, you must take these steps. Follow your plan, build your device using the materials, and ask a grown-up to help you if you need help. So here we are, we're on Create now. Look at the plan you wrote and ask a grown-up to help you. Get the materials, read each step carefully before you start. Follow each step in your plan to make your device. So in our science journal, we're going to take a picture of the device and add it. So this is where you actually get to build your idea. You get to build that thing that's going to mimic or copy a plant that's going to help you solve a problem. Then you're going to answer these questions in your journal. What was the most difficult part of making your device? What was the easiest part? And does your device look like the picture in your plan? If not, how is it different? So here is my create section. I've got my directions. I need to collect at least 4 straws. I need to cut each end and tape the straws together. I need to attach the long straw to a water bottle, and I need to put the water bottle inside a small backpack. So I did that and I actually made my device. Here is a picture of it for you. And you can include a picture like this when you turn in your portfolio to your teacher as well. So there's my super long straw. I think it actually took me 5 straws to make. I needed it to be a little bit longer than I anticipated with 4 straws. So I used 5 straws. It reached all the way into my backpack and it reached all the way into my mouth. So you can take a picture just of your device. You don't have to include a picture of yourself, but I know your teacher would probably love to see you and how you tested your device. So you can also include a picture of yourself with it if you would like to. All right, let's look at that lesson again. This is also the end of the next part, so you could stop here. Building a device, creating, modeling, all of that takes time, right? So if you wanted to do this on day 2, that's fine. This is a great stopping point after you've built this and you've added the create section to your science journal. This is a great part to stop at as well. If you're still moving on, let's go to your next lesson, which is Lesson 7. This is where you actually turn in the portfolio, but we have a few steps to do first. So this would be a great thing to save for day 3 of this portfolio project. All right, we've got the same objective still. Now we're going to test our devices. We're going to test a device to solve a problem. You've named a problem, you thought about the problem, you asked questions, you made a plan, then you built your device. Now it is time to test it. This is the 5th step. So we're all the way over here to test. Questions we can ask ourselves are what worked and what did not work? You see if your device will work. You want to see if it solves a problem. As you test it, write what you see. This is the evidence. This can show if a design does or does not work. So remember, we hope that it's going to work perfectly, but it might not, and that's okay. Think about the student in the videos. She had a problem with her lemonade sign. She followed the steps to help. Here, you can read each idea for testing her design, and you can think of if it's a good idea or if it's a bad idea. Not every idea we should really do, right? Now look at the device you made and think about how you can test your device. Remember to record your evidence. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to write or draw about how you will test it, then test the device, and then write or draw what you observe as you test your device. So here's my science journal again. Remember, it's a little different than yours, but here's the section I made for testing my device. I drew a picture of myself with a backpack and that long straw, and then I wrote a little bit. I said, I will test my device on a bike ride. Right? That's why I want to solve how to stay hydrated and cool. And what I observed my straws were not long and bendy enough. So I had to add another straw, and I really thought that if I had them, some of those bendy straws that you can turn would probably work a lot better because I had straight straws and they didn't like to bend. I couldn't get the water to my mouth very well. Let's go back to your lesson. All right, now it's time to reflect. So, a reflect is when you just think about everything and you kind of analyze and discuss what went well, what didn't go well, and maybe some improvements you can make. Improve a device to solve a problem. After, look at the results. Can it be better? Making the design better is the sixth step. You can repeat all the steps if needed. So, here's the last step of this engineering process improve. Here's a question you can ask. What changes will you make to improve your design? Remember, that means to make it a little bit better. In your science journal, you're going to write things down like, what can you change? Write or draw the changes you want to make. And then talk about these questions with your learning coach too. How well did your device solve the problem? How did your device act like plant parts? What was the most difficult part? And do you think your device is the only solution? So right here, I've got my improve section in the bottom of my science journal. I wrote I can use different straws, right? A different type of straw, and I can use more straws. I know that a plant's roots, they are bendy, right? They bend and curve. So maybe I could get some of those bendy straws and that would work a bit better. All right, you are almost done. This is when you organize and submit your portfolio. Get ready to turn in your portfolio. Make sure you have each part and work with your learning coach. So remember, you're going to include your science journal. You're going to include the ask questions portion, the brainstorm portion, the design portion, the create portion. You also want to include pictures of what you made, your device, right? It might be a sign like the example in the lesson, or it might not be a sign. It might be a long straw like I made. You also want to include your test portion and your improve portion. So if you turn all of these in, I know you are going to get a really amazing grade and your teacher is going to be so interested to see how you solved a problem like a plant. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a great time with this portfolio and I will see you next time. Goodbye, goodbye.